So everyone, meet Ginny Jones, the creative force behind Ginny Jones Rugs, based in beautiful Perth, Australia. With over 25 years in the rug design game, Ginny isn't just a designer, she's a trailblazer in her industry. In 2001, she emerged as one of the first pioneers in hand-knotted rug design in Australia, and she hasn't looked back since. Ginny's passion for pushing the boundaries of creativity shines through in her work. She expertly blends traditional craftsmanship with contemporary techniques, resulting in stunning rugs that tell stories of her adventures around the globe. Ginny's travels keep her connected to the latest trends, ensuring her designs are always fresh and innovative. But Ginny's impact goes far beyond beautiful rugs. She's deeply committed to giving back, supporting artisan communities in India and Nepal by addressing their needs. Join us in today's episode of Driven by Design and discover the inspiring journey of a designer who's not only driven by her craft, but also her heart.
Oh, that's lovely. Thanks, Amanda. There's nothing left to do.
Oh my gosh, no, I am just so
Yeah.
excited. I connected with Jenny for one of her stunning rug designs for a project that we're working on, and I loved your
Okay.
energy and just had to know more about you. You
Oh,
are just
thank you,
this
Amanda.
force. I
Same.
can feel it, and your creativity and your spirit just like came through the Zoom call, and I needed to know
Oh,
all about
that's
you
fine.
and your journey. So
Oh,
here we
thank
are.
you. Yeah, no, thank you. I felt the same way about you. It was an instant connection, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it
Which is what I
absolutely
like
was.
about.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
no,
was.
fabulous. No,
Okay, so we're going to kind of start at the beginning. Can you
sure.
can you tell us about your background and kind of where you came from, where you grew up? Was there a lot of creativity? How did that kind of stem, and where did you first see that in
I
your childhood?
think well, I'm dyslexic, which wasn't a word when I was a child, and so I was shut out of a world of words. And for children, for survival, you'd go to school and the nuns never knew quite what to do with me because they thought I was either something wrong with my hearing or sight because I couldn't read what was on the board or repeat and that. But what I ended up doing, everything became color. People became color, and your other parts. When something, it, like when you're blind, your hearing's better. When you're, so what happened for me was I had to be so alert and watching people and what they weren't saying and were saying and everything, so I could fit in and pretend that I could read and write like everyone else. So it heightened that part of me, which was very much color and visual. And so when someone would tell a story or something, it would be in my head and it'd be a film. It'd
Ah,
be trees and colors and everything because I couldn't read the story, I could create it and that. So as that went, and I had very loving parents that sort of said, look, my father was adoring. He said, Jen, it doesn't matter. You just enjoy school, because they didn't know what it was, but they said, but you're bright. You'll get through there. It's not your season. And I go, okay, I'll just have a good time. So basically, that was it. But it gave me great learning skills in the sense of observation and really seeing things differently.
mhm.
So I was in a car accident when I was about 17, and it was head injury. And in that, they had to teach me to talk and walk. And that's where they did a shell shock way, which is actually what they do for dyslexics now. But what it opened was a world of words, because all of a sudden I was learning that, because dyslexics can learn, they just can't learn the same way as a normal
Mhm,
for words.
mhm.
And it opened this world. I read my first book at 18. I was so excited. I think I've never
Yes.
stopped reading books. I'm slow at reading, but I read all the time. Every morning I do studies that you sort of want to make up. So that creativeness plus then reading, and I did have a grandmother that was an artist, so that was in there. And I always loved fashion. I became a fashion buyer for a little while and jewelry buyer. That was in
Mm.
my background in my 20s. But then when we made a pact, my husband and I, when we were in Australian aid in Africa. And we said in 10 years' time, we've got to bring kids back here, whatever kids and how many kids we have. And at that stage, 10 years later, we had 3 children and we went back to Africa, put our car on stilts and rented out our house, and off we came because we wanted to make sure we had that adventure. And they knew a balance of, we lived in a lovely area here, but also knowing the whole world out there. And Turkey was the last spot we were in the 3 years, and that's how Rugs started, because I just fell in love. I saw these women who are literate and they were telling their story on rugs. And I so connected with that. You know, they were able to, with motives and that and colour. And I thought, wow, this is me. I can tell my story through rugs. And that's sort of how that part started.
Oh my goodness. So what kind of therapy was it that kind of opened your
It,
mind? Yeah.
Well, what happened, what they found, which my daughter's dyslexic because it's hereditary, and they do it now, is like a shell shock, what they did in World War II. They do with movement and big letters, and it's a whole different way of learning because it's at a different part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden, you know, it opens what is very normal to everyone else when you just learn at school. It's just not able. It's like you rote learn because you can't remember. You have to learn off by heart. Your memory becomes really good because you're trying to fit in and you remember that whole sentence everyone read, because when it comes to you, you've got to remember how to say it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas all of a sudden, this shell shock taught us the vowels, the letters, and you'd work in sand with your fingers. Like it was a very much physical and large and very base, but it was very different way. And once you got that, after a time, you could then sound it out. It was very phonetics too, you know, like, so you had to look at it differently. It's
My,
but it back. There's lots of bonuses on the other
yeah,
side.
yeah, there are. My sister is
Oh,
dyslexic, and she from first grade, so she's a year and 4 months older than me, and
yeah.
from the they held her back from going to first
Uh,
grade, and she
yeah.
went to pre-first, and
Oh,
because of this, and so from first grade on we were in the same
oh,
grade.
wow. Oh my
And
God.
most people didn't even, because it is true how you learn differently, but they just
Yeah.
didn't they did not have the knowledge, I think, in order to
No.
kind of
Oh,
really fine tune that, because she always
totally.
thought that she was not smart enough, and
Oh,
was kind of compared to me, and school came really easy for me. So it was just
mate.
so sad to hear
Oh,
later on in
yeah.
life that it
Totally.
affected her self-esteem.
Well, it's the foundation, those first years, you know,
Yeah.
like that gives a child the confidence to either go out and conquer or feeling everything is a second. I mean, and depending, you know, it's all that. I suppose that's a big thing for me for kids out there because my granddaughter's dyslexic and even
Oh,
she's in
wow.
year 1 and they said, oh, we don't do. I said, she's dyslexic. She needs help now. Don't wait till year 4 when she's lost confidence.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
needs to know she's very clever and bright. She just has to learn differently in that
Mhm.
because it really, I mean, fortunately, you know, like you know, my dad was one of those things. He'd say, "Oh, looked at my ankle," and say, "Oh my God, you're a princess." You know,
Oh,
this is a little girl
wow.
of 5 or 6. They don't get it. You're going to be. No, no. And so I had this amazing support of this father going, "Really, Dad?" And he goes, "Yeah, just wait, your dreams." So I do my dreamy world of, you know. So I didn't have that pressure. I wanted to improve. Poor mum would have tutors and didn't help. But it's so important, you know, for that poor, you know, being, I can imagine with your sister, being even in the same classroom, how hard, you know, like all those things, very, very hard and
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
But that's where I do talks around dyslexia, because just saying, you know, it's good to be different. And
It
the thing that's helped me, failure was so normal to me growing up, you know, the nuns used to give me the best writing because that's all they could think of giving me. But, you know, like I learned that, I gave it a go, and I knew I could probably fail at whatever test I had.
mhm.
But that actually was the best learning skill, because I've been able to just say, yeah, I'll give it a go. Yeah, no, I'll do it. And
Yeah,
what it does is, when you're not scared of failure, you give
yeah,
everything a go. You
it's
actually
true.
enrich your life. You're not. know what it's like to go, and that's okay. I got through it. You know, I survived, so
Yeah.
to speak.
It teaches you
Yeah,
resilience
yeah,
and that failure is a good thing, really. And you just keep
yeah,
trying
yeah.
and
You give
what
it.
an amazing
Yeah.
story. Yeah. So
Yes,
so so did you have siblings and
yes.
yeah?
I
And
have
were
two
they
brothers. Sorry.
were they creative as well?
Um, Not really. I mean, my brother above me, I have two brothers and a younger sister. My brother above me was dyslexic, so the two of us would be in tutoring together, and he had it really tough because he only could see a word, a dot in the middle of a page,
Wow.
so they just couldn't comprehend what this was and that. Anyway, he's the only one with a university degree, so he just battled on. He's a real survivor, and
Just
once again, he got a resilience above it. Amazing, amazing
wow.
man.
That
But
is
yeah, I
amazing.
think everyone's creative, but it's just in a
What
different
an
form. I
amazing
feel.
like family to come from, that your dad is just like that, fostering your creativity and teaching you to that you're like to be different is cool. That's just a blessing
So
because
important.
yeah, it's so
It's,
important. And
and
really
that,
I can see it in your spirit that you it 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 kind of stems from that. I
yes.
feel your
I
all
mean,
of your
that, the love of
mhm,
a parent
yeah.
is one of the most powerful things.
Mhm.
Like when I talk, no matter they're the window to the world.
Mhm.
Everyone else can say, and that's what I was talking to someone last week who was dyslexic. And I said, people can say whatever they like, but the person you love most says, no, you're wonderful. It's so powerful. And if
Mhm.
parents understand that, just to embrace each child for who they are
Mhm.
and encourage those, whatever it is, gets them through. I mean, those foundation years, it's amazing. Like, I've been married 46 years, and I think of the 17 years in my family, that influence, and then you've got the other 40 years, and yet that foundation is really, that banner is so strong in all.
Pushes you through.
Yeah,
Oh, love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay. So whenever you started in fashion before as a
I
buyer?
work. Yeah, well, I was in a training in Myers. It's a department store, and so in WA, I did a special. They did 6 people where they trained up,
Mhm.
and in across the field, so that you could go into any department. And of course, I love fashion and jewelry. Just love jewelry. So that was accessories. So that was my big thing. That's what I ended up buying: jewelry and accessories and handbags. I love the finish, which is a little bit like a rug.
Yeah.
I loved that. Just put that together, put your shirt in that, but put that beautiful scarf or fun jewelry, and that makes it. So it's
Mhm.
sort of not far from the rug, where I feel, you can have all the piece and then you slip the rug in and it just connects it like a
It,
scarf. It just
it's
finishes
so
it
true.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
So
very true.
it all,
It's like hair.
yeah.
It
Yes.
on a body.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
I originally went to school to be a buyer, and
Oh,
my first
really?
yeah
Oh,
is
wow.
in fashion. And it's just
Oh, wow.
so.
Connection again.
But I never made it actually because while I was going to finishing up my degree, my internship, I couldn't find anything in like the intern. Any of the positions that they were offering were not appealing to me. It was like the mall, the Galleria, something like this, and I
Right.
was like, "There's no way I'm going to go work at the Galleria." And I was already working a full time job at a multifamily. Well, it's basically a developer's office, and
Right.
that's kind of how I started in the interior design world. I was
Wow.
designing spaces, and then I went back to school through a program online out of London for
Fantastic.
interior design. But it was really like that foundation of
Yeah.
fashion and connecting. I feel like people and spaces are so similar
Oh, you're
of like
so,
chasing
so
them.
right.
And so that's kind of my start too. It's so interesting that that was
Yeah.
also your start. So how long were you in that?
I probably 3 years, because my husband, we got married, went into it, and I thought naturally I had to have kids. That's the era. And then he said, "No, you're far too young. You need to grow up a bit more." And that's when he said, "Let's go to Africa." There was Australian aid after independence in Zimbabwe, and he said, We finished doing our house up and bits. I was really not ready to go there because I was just about to be the overseas buyer for the company, and I was so excited traveling. But he, in his wisdom, said it's time to move, because I was so working till 10 at night. Like I'm very, and then he said, "You think there's no balance, Jen? It's time to have
So,
adventure." So, yeah, so I said, "Oh," anyway, he said, "Here you are, let's go." So we went to Africa for 2 years.
oh, so
And that, and
you moved there for
yeah,
2 years.
yeah, we went to Africa. So and that's where we had our first child. So that was really interesting time. And then, but it was funny. I remember when I was leaving the company and I saw the managing director, and then he offered, this is the joke, because then he said, "I'll give you double," because they pay you bit, and he said, "I'll give you double," and I said, "No, I actually have the ticket. It's my husband. I'm following her." And then he said, and then he tried all these things, and he said, "So you're definitely not going to?" And I said, "No," and he said, "Best move." I went, "What?" And he said, "I had to try," but he said, "There's nothing better than developing yourself. You'll always be there'll always be
Oh,
a job for you,
he
and that
supported it.
go at." Yeah, in the end, when he said no, and he said, "Good move, Jenny, because we'll have a spot for you. You've got a history, but what you'll learn, and that doesn't always have to be in the same trade. Go out and just learn about yourself and out there and people." And so that was really a very good advice. And that's what I'd say to people: don't get stuck. If something life turns you things, embrace each thing, each stage, and see what you can learn from it.
It is.
So, yeah.
So what did you do while you were there?
Oh my God. I went to a department store. This is just after independence, and it was very male orientated. And I went to, and I, thought, "Oh, I've got to do something." So, OK Bazaar is the department store name. And I went there, and they were all men, and I was the only female. And they wouldn't give me even the figures, because women can't handle figures, sort of thing. I said, "How do I run a department without knowing?" It was just, I lasted 3 months. I said, that was chauvinist. That was the highest rate of male thing. So I was at a dinner party, lunch, we all have thing, and we were very short teachers, and my husband was teaching. And at this dinner party, someone said, "If you were a teacher, what would you teach?" And I said, "I love figures. I love maths. Can't do words, but I love figures and that." Next day, a headmaster from a boys' school rang and said, "Would you mind coming and teaching maths?" That's how short they were of teachers. "Just for a while we get someone." I said, "What? I'm not a maths student." Anyway, I got to experience, once again, one of those people who, you fail, you give it a go. If it doesn't work, you finish in a week or whatever. Anyway, next minute, I am a maths teacher for O levels in a boys' high school, improvising and doing homework every night to do the next lesson. It was hilarious. It was a wonderful experience.
Oh
And
my,
yeah.
how long did
So
that last?
I ended up teaching it, which wasn't till the end of the year, until they did their exams, and then I had the baby. But yeah, it was not. They couldn't get a teacher, so it was sort of. I'd run outside to this Irish guy and say, "What's the answer to this?" Oh, race back in. "Oh, okay." And then I couldn't do it any longer. I said, "You guys, I'll just get all the exam papers. I can't do this. This is stressful."
Oh
And
my
because they
goodness.
were like, they had their license, they'd say, they were driving. I said, "You're not little boys." But it was wonderful. It was once again another experience that just, I can say I was a maths teacher for 7 months with no experience.
And then, and then,
So
and so afterward, you moved back to Australia?
came back to Australia, and then my husband was in finance and that, so I was a full-time mum. But we had another two children, and that's always been a priority in my life. Even with this business, children came first, because that's the treasure of my life, is my family, as my parents gave to me. And so I used to just consult here and there as with retail, but basically full-time mum. And then 10 years came, and Den said, we made this promise that we'd come back to Africa. We wouldn't get stuck in the world, that we'd just end up here 40 years later and still doing the same, and da, da, da. And I said, it's 10 years. And no one could believe, because it was sort of a boom time here in Perth and worldwide. And we were going as locals back to Zimbabwe, which I think was like 10 grand a year or something crazy, and living on the campus. But we wanted, with 3 children, wanted them to go off on safaris and wildlife.
Oh
And there's a
my
different feel in
God.
Africa. It's just, and we wanted, and it was English speaking, so we felt it was just a great opportunity to show them without money. I mean, money is great, but experience and being part of the people. And because we went as locals, we were very much part where they embraced us
Hmm.
and the kids.
Hmm.
So that we had every weekend we're off on this, national parks, and
Oh my
they
gosh.
saw everything and that. So we did that. And then the last spot was Turkey, and that's how we got into. And I got it. Oh, sorry, got to Africa and fell pregnant, and that was scary because it was AIDS. I think every, like 85%. I was thinking, oh, this is not good. I wasn't planning to have number 4 anyway. I had the most beautiful child
Oh,
and a little boy, and so the last spot, the third year, because we were trying, was Turkey, and that's how Rugs began. Our journey of telling stories in Rugs.
so you saw it. You saw these rugs. You met these rug makers, and you said, "I want to do this." Like you just fell into it. How did that journey come about? How did that connection?
Well, Turkey, each place you go to, you find like Italian food, and, like each place has some richness. And Turkey, I knew, was rugs, because you'd go to a deli and a rug was bound. Everyone was selling rugs, sort of thing. It was their story. So when the 3 older ones were at school straight away, and Mitch was our baby, was like 12 months or 13 months, I'd go to the old city in Ankara to learn about the culture. I wanted to embrace the culture while we were there. And there was a boy or a young man wanting to learn English, which dyslexic, I worry about what he learned from me. But I learned that they used to trade to all the villages and bring in all these pieces. And he would tell me the stories of these pieces of rugs or cushions, or, like the saddlebags. And there was a whole richness of it. And I thought, wow. And I realized I was falling so much in love with it. Because as a retailer, I realized I didn't ever, fashion was hard. Like you have to move so fast. It's out of fashion, it's in fashion, size wrong, if you bought. And I was looking at these rugs and thought, old is good. Like I can jump on this. And if it doesn't move, it just increases with value when it's something beautiful. And I thought, this is getting really good. I like, this is interesting. And then going to the villages and watching these girls weave, and the story about them telling it all intricate within their own culture, about telling their father they were ready to get married. It was in a rug. They had all
Oh
these wonderful
wow.
rituals. And I just fell in love with this whole color, and they were that, you'd go into their house and they had rug on top of rug. And it was almost like I say at the shop, each rug is my bank check, like instead of in the bank, like pull out a check, pull out a rug, and there it goes. And that was their life too. It was their whole finance was in the textiles.
Hmm.
And I just said to Den, I think I can do rugs in Perth. Because we knew it was time to go home, because our daughter was about to enter high school.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
said, what do you think? And Den, being Den, said, yeah, why not? And then, weekend away, half a container of rugs. We're ready to come home, and knowing nothing about rugs, but I like that one. Oh, like my buying. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I'll get that one, so to speak. And that was the beginning of the
And that
journey.
was 2001.
That was no, to
Uh-huh.
1995 we bought it. In 1996 we arrived back with the container arrived April 1996.
Oh,
So
so
that was, and I
that's when
worked.
you started Jenny Jones.
Yes, yes. I started designing in 2001 because I found it didn't, there wasn't, it had lost its soul. They were manufacturing, what I had was all old pieces, and everything had changed. Like it's no longer red navies and whatever and traditional. It was these beautiful colors coming through, like behind you, and chartreuse, what you're wearing, and then the oysters and the blues. The rugs weren't moving with the colors, and colors number one to me. You get the color
Mm,
right, design after.
that's true.
So I said to Dad, we're finished, because it's just not going with what architecturally is so exciting and happening with, between the architecture, the furniture, the whole accessories and that. So my husband again said, well, why don't you go to Nepal and do your own? And that's how I thought, no. And he said, that's the only way. If you've got a vision, you've learned about rugs. And that's when I started doing our own rugs in 2001
And
or
so
actually
would you would you
2000.
would you sketch them, or
Yeah.
how did you?
Yes,
You
back
did.
then, that was the only way. There was no, it was a very slow process. So it made it quite simple because they wouldn't be able to do intricate for contemporary. Because Kelly Hopman was the first, I went to an exhibition, she'd just done a range, this is in 2000 and probably 99 or 2000. I mean 1999, 2000. And I said to Den, and I brought it back to the shop and showed, and everyone said, what? That's just got 3 lines in it? Or you're like, you're asking that amount of money? You're like, there's a traditional same amount and there's all this work. And I said, yeah, but it doesn't work, does it, in your house? This does, And it took the popular time to understand this is still art. You don't have to use every single centimeter. It makes 21 colors in it. It's actually, oh, sorry. It's actually, so that's where I just knew it would take time and education. And that's when and then because I'm in Perth, I did, custom bespoke all the time. And then the company asked me who was producing, because I went from wildflowers to Art Deco to geometric to organic. And they said, you have no, you're not a Art Deco thing. And I said, well, I'm doing a client's, it's what they want in their home. They're asking me. And that's where the dyslexic, I'd go to home and what they didn't say, and you'd look around, you think, I know this is what you really, because you don't know what I can do. So then I'd make it up. Oh, I love it. And it's an expression of them. So, but first I'd always get their color. I mean, I can have a rug. There's a rug called Crochet. And I remember this client coming in and it was in allspice, which I love. And people are very honest and they go, oh, yuck. Oh, God, who would buy that? And I go, yeah, fair enough. Like this is us. And then we're flipping through exactly the same design. And it was in Atlantic blues. And she said, oh my God, that's the rug. I want that rug. And that's what I found as a retailer with rugs. They didn't see the design. They saw color first. And if I got the color, I could drop, if I was making them a design, once I worked out their color, I'd drop in designs and then they could then be personalized by, that's my type of style. So I've made 1,870 rugs so far, bespoke for people since I started.
Wow.
So the bonus is it pushed me, like I couldn't get comfortable with what I liked. I had to do, and that as you would do for each person, you create their home, you create everything they love, and they walk and they feel an expression of themselves with beautiful style. Yeah, it's the same principle. Yeah.
And so did you just go to Nepal and start searching out these rug makers? How did you find out?
Yeah.
How did you connect with them?
That's
Because
the
this is
partnership.
like their internet wasn't like a big thing.
No internet. There was no
No.
mobile. But
Yeah.
when there was just nothing. No, that's where my husband, he said, because when we did the exhibition, I forgot to say, I was exhausted. We had a big show and everything else. And then he said, and I just returned with 4 kids and putting them to school. And he said, look, put what's left in a room and we'll do another exhibition. So we did it like July, 4 months later, put an advert, said it's just in this hall, and just in the local paper. It was gone in an hour.
Wow.
Jen said, right, you're on and he had me on a plane on Tuesday. That was Saturday. And, like I was gone for 10 days. And I remember crying on the plane saying, no mobile. I'm leaving my kids. What happened? If something hurts. Anyway, it all worked. And that was the beginning of the journey. So same thing happened in Nepal. Dan goes, right, you don't like those rugs. Nothing works. I'll go to Nepal, find you a producer. And then you start doing it, or start the process. And that's what he did. He went to Nepal, found a producer, and we began our journey. And the guy that was still working with was actually working for this producer, which, and we saw the potential in this guy. One, he was so wonderful with the weavers and the respect for the weavers, because he was once a weaver, and he had the eye. I call the color in the eye. You can't, just a gift. And I knew what, if I sent him something. So to this day, he's doing your color at the moment. I know he gets it. So, 24 years later, we're still doing the eye color to each other and everything else, gone for a long. So we backed him. We got him out because the guy, producer, wasn't very nice. So we said, how about us setting you up? You have ownership, and that we know the weavers. We set up a whole, he found a great place with garden and accommodation and a school. And it won the best environmental and thing at that time, because his heart was right.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew with the weaving that the weavers would be looked after. We had a doctor, a nurse there, like it was all good karma,
Mm-hmm.
which was fantastic. And so we've been together ever since.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh,
sort of
what a
thanks to
beautiful
Dan.
story.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I love that that was my next question. Are you still with the same weaver? And wow,
yeah.
is he just the most grateful human to you and your
On
husband?
it's like any relationship,
Mutual.
like it goes up and down because he's journeyed too. Like when he didn't speak a lot of English. And the journey of him getting his car license, like it's really, we start right through the process, and his kids, and he's built, and yeah, we have a total respect for each other
Mhm.
and family and everything else, and he is a good man, with a different culture, and we just, in his times, we just totally support him, because you pick people with the right hearts, and that's where, wherever I've worked, we've worked with the same supplier in India for the last 20 years, because like any relationship, they test you, they make sure, like it goes around and say, it's not, oh, this is smooth, it's constant. Like children, boundary,
Yes.
no, you overstep the boundary, do that again, we won't do any more work, la, la, la. And sometimes the kids go, why do you stick at certain one? And I said, because the next one will be the same. That's what relationships about.
It's true.
They
It
just,
is so true.
they develop it, and you just got to trust, and then put them up, and then, smack their hand. Or you know what I mean? It's sort of like saying, well, look, we don't operate that way, but they've got to have the same philosophy about the people without a voice. And that's where, to me, we're the women always, for Den and I, and that's why we instilled an education, because that's something no one can take off someone poor, is education. And that's where, I think probably our proudest thing is, in India and Nepal, is having education, that women, especially women who weren't, and they're usually on the lower end, like the outcasts and that, the weaving industry, that they then, and I remember this day we're giving out a certificate because they get a certificate, to show that, and which was really important, that, they've passed and they can read and write. And we realized it had to do with their life. There's no point. They'd never seen a sea or ocean or books. It was about their village, how to catch a bus, how to see what is normal to us. They wouldn't read a sign. I read one woman said she went 1,000 kilometers on a bus thinking she was in the right direction, but someone had just put her on the wrong bus. Simple things that we take for granted,
Mhm.
they didn't get. So this 10 hand education started, and I will always remember these women all around and cuddling me and everything else, at the end of it with their no, it was the best thing was they were coming up and I was handing out the certificate, and it was in Hindi, so obviously I didn't know what it said. And so I'm handing out to this girl, and they called out her name, handed out to her, and she looked at it and she said, no, this is not mine. And that to me was the most exciting moment, because she could read her own
Oh,
certificate and tell people, that's not, you've got the wrong name on it. Do you know what I mean? That was
yes,
like,
yes, yes, yes.
whoa, this works.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. And that, yeah, so it was just, very, so we believe you've got to give back to whatever, embrace, back to the country that you are taking from, in a sense. And
Mhm.
we always believe education to people gives them voice and power and respect in a community. Money disappears, things. I mean, you support them, but education is, in a third world countries, can't, and health,
Priceless.
of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
priceless. Totally. Yeah.
So, what was your vision for Jenny Jones Rugs when you launched it, and how has that vision evolved over time?
Do you know, a lot of people, that's a good question, Amanda. I actually didn't have a big vision my vision was, and I'm a one day, this sounds terrible. Everyone says, what was your plan? And I go, I didn't have a plan because what I've always done, I'm a daily person.
Time.
I get up in the morning, I have a quiet time. I'm a Christian. And I just get up and I have this lovely quiet time with the Lord and think, okay, what's on today? Let's go. And I find it's much better than me taking control because the things that I've done in the last 20 years, I feel like Indiana Jones, like he's allowed me to be a mother and, take that hat off when I come back and then go off to China or India, Pakistan. And then for 10 days, I'm not a mother, I'm just Jenny, so I don't want to interfere with it in some way because it's much better. Somehow things come to me and like I've just got a job with, I did the rugs in Government House in Sydney near Opera House. I don't know if you know that area. So that's where all the functions happen and everything else. And I didn't go out. This is what happens. I didn't go out looking for it. Her Excellency rang me out of the onset during COVID, and I thought, wow, and I just feel blessed in that way.
That is
And then
amazing.
I take so much into everyone's order. My job is to make sure what those people want, immature of who they are, whatever. Anyway, I just got the third room. They're just getting me to do another one because it's silk and wool. And it's been 2 years, these two big rugs, 9 meters by 7 and, two very large. And when I went there in April to 6, I hadn't actually seen it in place because of COVID. When I went there, the lady that takes the people around for tours said that they docked in 110,000 people had been on these rugs in the last 2 years. And and that's why I'm so thrilled. They look brand new.
Oh my
And they have all
goodness.
the functions there and everything. And that's why, they're slowly getting me to do different rooms. But that's the difference between a hand knotted, good material, natural fibers, silk and wool, none of this viscose or bamboo or art silk and everything or tufted. You actually have something you can wash every day if you want, or it's just, and I would never say that to people, but after seeing it, I was thinking, whoa, that's a test.
Honestly, you
That's,
should have that on film.
yeah.
The woman
Yes, I know.
who's saying that how many
Yeah,
people have walked through here and look at still it
I
looks brand new.
know.
That should be
Exactly.
on your social media,
Gonna
your
do
website, all the
it.
things.
Yes,
Absolutely. That's a
totally.
testament. It
It's
is a
wow, it's
testament to how good your
amazing.
product is.
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
exactly. I was so relieved because I didn't know if they had said to me, "We'll have about 100,000 coming through." I'd say, "Oh, I don't know. I can't guarantee anything." Like, that's a lot of people. And
A
how do you
lot
test drive
of
that? A
people.
lot of
Yeah,
people, but they look beautiful. So yeah, I was really pleased with that. But that's using natural fiber, high
so
quality,
true.
good
There's
hand spun
nothing
wool, pure silk. You
better.
can't be
You
nothing
can't
better,
do. You
and better for the environment. All this other stuff is so bad for our environment,
can't.
that no one talks about for the production in the soil, the people in India. I watch it and think, no, this is the chemicals, it's just not good, and I think people are more pro to having quality, and long term instead of we were so much a throwaway society. And that's what happened when I was designing. I'd say, oh, this will last forever. And they said, we don't want it to last forever. We'd like it for about 4 years. And when I was saying, oh my God. And so they said, that's why we get it tufted or, like that. And I said, well, put it, and that changed my design to color, just like tonals, like my website, all Atlantic. So even though it's mainly all tonal colors in the design, so you can do many
Anything.
stories, change it in 4 years, but you can't, it's not good to change things or quality, and also cost wise, who can do that.
No doubt.
But that really helped me change the direction. Rather than doing everything different, I then put it into color groups because that's what people are. So when people come in, oh, you're a blue person, come on, let's see these blue rugs. So to speak.
So we read and it seems that travel has influenced your design process and styles that you create. How has it done that? And what has been your biggest inspiration you've stumbled upon while exploring?
um I I think what I find find is people. A lot of my travels, like it'll be like I talk about the crochet, and being in Africa, all the women would be along the street because there's no benefits or anything, social benefits, and they use the tobacco twine, and they'd have all these crochet bedspreads, tablecloths along the road, and it had such a strong feeling to me. And I watched these women with little toddlers and just how they do anything for their kids. So when I created, I wanted to do something in respect for them. So crochet, the design, which is a big design and a little bit of crochet, and I blew it up to make it look. So that to me is my memory and respect and reverence for that. Then there's Ruby Room, which won the Domotex International Award for Contemporary Design 2012. And that was, as a little kid, I wanted to have beads on my door, you know, like and Mum, no way, her house was very nice and she was not having beads in the door going through. And I was thinking, oh, why not? And then I'd sneak and watch all the old movies, you know, with Gene Simmons, Elizabeth Taylor, and all of them would be in this sad story. There was always a hero, but they'd have these beautiful nightgowns of silk. And so I had this vision. I always wanted a silk, you know, nightie like that, and these beads. So all of a sudden, in my head, out comes, I'm thinking, I'm going to do my memory of what I wanted, and became Ruby Room, which is probably one of the best sellers in America. But it was beads with a crochet behind of this silk. In my head, it's, you know, they're all colors, but that's where the concept came. I thought, I'm going to get those beads. I'm going to have a door, and the silk negligee goes through those beads. So a lot of my designs relate to, like my kimono is, we had Japanese students live with us for 2 years, and they taught me so much about Japan. So I wanted to do something there. So, you know, my wildflowers are my heart, because I'm a farmer's daughter, and every time I go to the bush every weekend, and I just get so, garden and creation just fills me. And I wanted people like Government House have the wildflowers. When you walk in it, you feel like you're walking through the bush or through the garden. I wanted them to feel what I feel.
Oh my
So
goodness.
a lot has a lot to do with me emotionally, and it is sort of storytelling. It's got something from me, you know, on the whole. Even when I design for someone, it's still something from me, but into their colors and concept. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Do you sell the rugs with the story?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
because it's important for people to know
yes.
it's not
Connect
just
that
a
story.
rug.
That's the
Yeah,
best part,
yeah,
for
exactly. That
sure.
I can just quickly, and that's why, you know, all my rugs are just sold from here and in Melbourne, because all of them are a bit of, they have a story. They didn't just come, you know, like, and that's where the staff know, you know, like they said, oh, she's about to start, she's dressing in a color, you know, like, what's she talking? She's been talking about something, and you know, and all of a sudden it evolves. Like, they said, how did you do that today? And I said, no, it's been in my head for 3 months.
Oh my
It's just
God.
now I've got it. I've worked it out. And, you know, bingo,
So,
sort of.
so is
It's
it
just,
written on the back of the rugs? The
no,
story?
that's why actually what we're looking at the moment, because someone said, can we have, you know, them put on the back so we know the story? Because we give them the story when we send the picture, you know, with their contract and the photo, and for them to put into file. But yeah,
You
no,
you do
they
a
get a
QR
picture.
code,
A
a
barcode.
QR
Sorry.
code, a QR
I know.
code on the back of the
I
rug.
should do that. That's
Yes,
great.
QR
I,
code, and then it's you telling the story of the rug. It's a video of you
oh,
telling the story of the rug
oh my
on each
God.
of the
Can
rugs.
I have a session with you?
Yeah.
I think you need to teach me a
I'll
lot.
teach you. I'll teach
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
fantastic. Oh
That would
no,
be
that's a great idea.
amazing, amazing,
I,
amazing. And like
I,
you and your energy, it is like palpable, and that is what sells the story. To have you a video on the back would be
oh,
chef's
that's
kiss.
gorgeous of you. Oh, you're so encouraging, Amanda. Come you. That's just so sweet.
Oh my
I
gosh,
always
no,
think,
it would be,
oh,
it would really like seal the deal, I think,
yeah.
with
Oh,
the
well,
client.
I think that is, when people have something and it's a big part of their room, you
Hmm.
want them to feel there is another added story there that they can talk about. It's like a coffee table, you know, having pieces on the coffee table. it creates, I always say to people, have some things on the top. If you don't know someone, you can at least start talking about the things on the coffee table.
It's so
You know,
true.
it
But
breaks the ice.
also, that story will travel with the rug throughout time.
Yes,
So as
yeah.
long as it, for as many generations as possible, they will have that story attached
Oh,
to the rug.
I
That's
better
great.
do a good story.
You would be. I have no doubts that that story on those rugs is going to be amazing. I really don't. Can you? Okay, so each rug, do you sketch it out whenever you are thinking of it? Do you have now a computer program that you put them into? How do you? What's the creative process like?
Well, it's fantastic now. There is a computer program like CADS.
Yeah.
So every knot, you can dictate every knot on the different knotting. So what happens now, transformed, changed it, amazing. So I could do all these designs
Yes.
because you've got, what's in my head over you're getting produced, have no idea. You can't leave anything to say, oh, they'll work it out, because it's impossible. And
Mhm.
I once put a tick on the rug, meaning tick on the CAD, saying it's right, and the rug arrived with a tick. And they say, well, she's weird, but maybe that's her signature or something like that. In early days, and it really taught me everything. Whatever I do, they're going to do.
Yes.
So with that, I'll have a design or a concept,
Mhm.
and it might be layers. And I
Mhm.
use, because I've got about 2,000 in my library, and I
Wow.
move from one to the other. So within a day, I can create something new, because now after 28 years, I've got this library. I always say whether I use it or not. One of my best sellers in the last few years is something I did 10 years ago, but it wasn't right then. And then it came
Wow.
and everyone liked it. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So then I drop it into the CAD, the whatever, into it, and that's when because what everyone can do, it's available to everyone. Drop your picture in, and you've got a picture, but then it becomes
Mhm.
pixels. It's no longer, to me, an art form. You can see
Mhm.
it's all digital, and I think that's all. It's just not. That's the cheap way, or whatever. So
Mhm.
I've done my design. I've got my thing. When I go in, I then go through every knot and where one color stops and starts. So it's a painting again. So, but allowing those colors, and I have created my own color poms. So I don't go by boxes, because they're not quite right. Because as I said, colors are number one. So, and with my lama in Nepal, he will constantly do up new ones or whatever, as you know, because it's so important. And it's exactly what you're saying for your beautiful room with those colors. You've got to get it. It can't be off. It's got to be
Yeah.
right, especially when it's one tone. But and then they've got numbers, because if we talk names, I might call it red and they'll call it pink over there,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes.
So
Yes.
on the CAD will be just numbers where that color goes, and I'll do a contrast so they really see each thing. So it's very detailed, and it takes time. But once I've got it, and I've got that CAD, I can drop different colors all the time. Then I can change it and everything else, so it becomes valuable.
Wow.
You just the initial takes a lot of time and thought, but once you've got it, you've got it. It's great, and you can use it and twist it and change it and
You
create something new from it.
can tweak the scale and all of that
Yeah,
of this
yeah.
program. Ah.
And that's the thing too. I see a lot of people, they stretch, like they do a design. Like, some designs should never be stretched. They should be added to. You
Mhm.
take out integrity, because if that flower looks beautiful at 15 centimeters, and then you stretch it and it's this big flower, it isn't the look of the rug.
Mhm.
And I find
Mhm.
some you can, but a lot I add, and because I want it to be balanced. The line, like the branch or the line, should only be half a centimeter, but you stretch and all of a sudden it's a centimeter or one and a half, and I then say it's chunky, it's awful. No, so
Mhm.
that detail's really important to me, that no, we have to add to this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we're just doing one 4x5 or 4.5 for the government house. They picked a new design of mine, eucalyptus leaf, and that's what we're working on. We're going through because we worked out the leaf should only be this. So
Mhm.
then once we've got that, we've got it placed in the corner, and now we're adding to the whole canvas of that proportion and branch, and then it becomes that free form and looks like the actual tree or leaves
I
on
can't wait to
branches.
see it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
out of all of your designs, which is your favorite?
Oh, it's so hard. Yeah. I mean, I constantly, because that's the beauty. I don't change a lot in my house because I go to work all day and getting new ones. But we've got we built a house in the bush, in the hills, where we have this beautiful creek and kangaroos and
Oh,
wildflowers, everything else, and it's just gorgeous. And I literally I haven't done a lot of decoration, but what I did put in there, it's the house is actually momentum, sort of a black outside and inside. Everything is, which to my husband's horror at the beginning. But I did the rug of the bottle brush, which is a famous flower here, with rust flowers and the green leaves in the background black as well. So it's all glass windows into the hills. So as you walk in, it actually looks loud here in Perth, but on the floor there, it just takes my eye to the bush and reminds me of nature. And I sit there and I must say, I just love that. I love the greens and spice, the rust in that, but the detail of the knots in the flower bursting. I feel like I'm really in nature, seeing it outside and in.
it,
So
do you sell that rug?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they have in the government house. One of the rugs in the government
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But not with the
Um,
black.
do you have any rugs where you're at now? Like to show the
Yes,
audience
yes.
some of your rugs?
My house is a tiny.
You don't have to. It's not necessary. I
Okay.
would
Well,
never I would never put you in that position.
no. I can show you. There's the wabi-sabi, which is here.
Oh,
Can you see that?
yes, yes, yes.
So that's sort of all the greens,
I
which
love
I
that
love.
sofa too. The color.
Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? This is the family room. So that's that. I don't know if you can see it. And then my mother was from a station, and this is Edaji, which is sort of my Aboriginal version. So
Uh,
that's, I'm not sure. Oh, wrong way.
yes, right here. We can see it.
So it's sort of spice, and then there's, yeah, it's all a bit messy.
It's okay. I'm
I was
sorry.
setting up,
Thank you.
setting up.
That was impromptu. I apologize for that.
That's, I thought, oh, that's okay. I'll clean that up later. And I thought, oh, okay. But hey,
I'm so
we're
sorry.
all
But
women.
but listen, I don't think that was messy at all. It was just silly.
Oh,
You're
just
great. You're great. Okay, so you mentioned about giving back in these communities that you that give back to you.
yes.
What can you share, like how you became involved and what initiatives you've and programs you've implemented? I know you mentioned the education, but I didn't know about the programs. Are is it
Because my husband's in education, he
okay?
was in education at the beginning of his career, and and me being a dyslexic and knowing what it's like, it feels like you're not educated. You're educated, but you can't follow like everyone else. So I related to these women sort of trying to read signs, and filling in forms is terrifying. Like you can't, and so when we worked with a company in India, we were saying that we wanted to put back, and they loved the idea as well. And what we worked out, and my husband was very much the instigator and involved, and because we worked in Africa with aid back in the 80s, we worked out that whatever you do, the people have to own it. So if someone pulls out, it doesn't matter. You're teaching the people to do it within the village, or they get some. So one of the things was finding someone within the village, or a young girl of 15 who's been to school, like train up people within the place,
Mhm.
so that they get credit, but also that you find out what they need, what would help them. Because what we found, we watched in Africa how they'd come with all this aid but had not really related to their lives. Like,
Mhm.
these people need to know how to shop figures, banking, like
Mhm.
catching buses,
Mhm.
food, like really stuff that would empower
Mhm.
them. And what we found that the women were mainly illiterate because they weren't valued. The men went to school. The kids were going to school and they were looking at their mothers sort of not smart, thinking, oh, mum can't read or write. And that really made an impact on Den and I, that we needed them to have. They were the weavers. They were the breadwinners. They were very, much important part of their family. So that's where we decided, educating them, and this company came on board because you needed a company that had all the people in those different spots and to follow and be Indian, have ownership themselves too, nothing Western,
Wow.
that would just support. And that we learnt from Africa, that where whatever you do has to have ownership within the people themselves, and that they can keep growing and growing. So there was 3 courses. I mean, if they wanted to go on to more schooling, there was that option. But we found, like that certificate I was talking about, that was level 1 or level 2, that they could now say yes, they could read. And they said to me, well, translated, these women were saying that their kids looked at them differently. Like they were saying, oh, mum, wow, she can read. And one said, I can help with homework. Like I can actually. So those things that are so natural to us were so foreign, and so that was really so important. I think we did about 2,000 or 3,000 women weavers in this education program. So that was really great. And then they've taken over, and it's just flowing. I think I don't know how many now. It's 7,000, 8,000 or whatever.
Oh
So
my
it's just it's
goodness.
a lot
Oh,
of work. So it's fantastic. And then in Nepal, we sort of had that education, and they've had so much hard time. So ours, like, they've just had another flood, and homes and demolished, and it's just heartbreaking. I think since we've been involved in Nepal with the king being murdered, they've just had a bad, um, in every way, as in politics, Maoist attacks and everything. So ours is more with the education, but also support just in basic things like, the food and everything else. We used to have the education and the doctor and bits, but it's just it's a really tough place for them, which is very, very hard. But that's where, you set up things like where the women, mainly the women, giving them money where they do a cycle, they pay back for another woman, or buy a sewing machine, or whatever it is, or a goat. It sounds simple, but it actually gives them an income and independence, and that. So all those are really important, because the person at the bottom of the ladder doesn't have much voice, and that's where.
true.
So if someone says, oh, get a better price, I said, that person, the person who's going to give you a better price won't lose anything. It's down the bottom who gets less. I used to always have that feeling like, oh, if I get a better price, you'd have to make sure. And that's why finding the right people to work with, people who have the same value for people, human beings. It's really important in a third world country that they love their people and they want to change their ways as well, have a better quality of life for them. And that's living in Africa, seeing a different way made us very astute. And we'd check out, we wouldn't go by words, we'd go and see, surprise, check, and do that over the years to make sure money
That they
was
were
going to the right.
truthful.
Yeah, very important. You just don't hand over, you treat it like a business. That was our philosophy. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't just hand over money if it was your business thing. You'd actually find out, investigate, and that's what we did. Yeah. So it gives a good karma.
It really does. But also, I mean, it's so rewarding. I could only imagine
Oh,
how just like the heart in that, and seeing all of these women have confidence in themselves and
oh,
pride in their education. I would not I, I would not be able to go there and not cry.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh, it's just so, it's so humbling
Yeah.
just seeing these women, the simple things, and you've hardly given anything, and they're so, yeah, it was just a very powerful, yeah, it was, but, and it's, I mean, lots happening in these countries with education, which is great now.
How do you balance running your successful rug business and also all of these community initiatives that you're a part of?
I suppose that goes back to my daily thing. So if I look, if I look ahead and see what's I've got on, you can drown a little, sort of speak.
Every day.
So I don't when because that's why I was sort of saying a plan. And I said, do you know what? I actually find if I get up in the day and really utilize, I'm very disciplined in my time. And like it's got to be really worthwhile putting time into those things like in the day. So if I get up and it's people orientated, grandchildren, so I say no, you know that's important, no, I want to see that person, and I fit that in, and somehow the next day comes along, and you've got to put that much into that part. It works, you utilizing the day. And I was saying to someone, getting up in the morning and having a quiet time and getting rid of yesterday's troubles or blaming game or guilt or whatever you want to call it, that you sort of empty yourself and you fill yourself with the right stuff, and you say, okay, I'm ready for the day. I really believe going into work, you are so much more efficient. You're not carrying this load with you. Like people throughout the day can think of the past, the future, what am I going to do? When you're actually empty and staying in the present, you get a lot done. You sort of go, okay. And then that creative being is also happening because there's no blockage there. You've dealt with things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. Oh, so
I
I have the same mentality. I try to wake up, doesn't matter what.
yeah,
I
yeah,
am an eternal optimist.
yes,
Does not matter what happened the day before. I wake up and I am happy every
fantastic.
day. It's
Fantastic.
it's it's truly it's a gift, and I
Yeah,
don't know how it
well, that's
I
one.
I started doing this, but I also recently started about a year or maybe a year and a half ago meditating for at
One.
least 10 minutes every morning, and I truly believe that it allows you to start at a baseline
Yes,
where you're no longer reacting.
yes,
You are kind of just living in the present, as you said, and
exactly.
you're able to kind of um put things into perspective and
Yeah.
prioritize things in a way that, because you've given yourself that time to find your calm and your center.
Totally.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we worry about things they don't even come or exist. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything, that life can change in a second and everything else. And so to have all these major things for the future or major stuff, what about, most won't come. I reckon 95%, none of that happens. But if you're right there and you can do today's stuff, and a lot of it can be just on kindness and
Mhm.
be aware. Like I always get intrigued. So when I like go to the supermarket or go, and then you see the lady at the checkout, and how are you? I mean, they're taught to say something like that, and you look in their eyes and you acknowledge them and you say, how are you? What's
Mhm.
your day like? They can
Mhm.
see you see them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Think a lot of the times we race through days not seeing anyone.
Mhm.
And I think that is really important. So when someone comes in, you give them your whole presence.
Mhm.
You're there, you see them, you
Mhm.
acknowledge them, because so many people don't even get seen or
Mhm.
acknowledged. And I think just in that is so powerful
I
that,
totally agree.
yeah, and that just earths you.
Mhm.
And then like there's this good energy,
Yeah.
and that's important, in the world. We need to see each other,
Oh,
genuinely
I
be real.
I cannot agree more. And I can't tell you how many times where I think my mom,
Yeah.
my father passed when I was very young, at
Oh,
3 years old actually. And
okay. Oh, wow.
my mom raised us. There were five
Wow.
of us, and
No, you're
yeah.
kidding. What a woman.
Yeah, yeah, she's
Wow.
special. And so she always taught us to treat everyone as we would like to be treated. I
Be
mean,
treated.
ingrained that in us. None of my siblings can lie.
Isn't
We
that
all cannot
wonderful?
lie because it was just
In
ingrained in
uh,
us. And
what a
to treat
great banner.
also to treat everyone equally. And I do the same. Anytime anyone says, "How are you?" I answer honestly, and then I ask them, and I can't tell
Yeah.
you the amount of people saying, "Thank you so much for asking me that." Like, I'm like, who doesn't ask how other people are? Because to me, it's a thing that I've always done, and it's natural. Why, if you're asking about me, I'm asking about you genuinely, kind of thing. So
Yeah, but isn't that wonderful? Because I don't think people automatically say it.
yeah,
I don't think it's like
no,
saying bye or something like that. And you think,
yeah,
oh, okay, bye. I didn't finish. Oh, it's the typical thing when someone starts telling you, I didn't mean it.
I know.
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
wonderful. What
You
amazing
know,
woman, and what great values to,
really.
because I always think honesty and truth set you free. You're just, if you just live it pure with honesty and genuineness and respect for others. I'd love if that was my principle for the kids, and I think that's fantastic. Your mum did a great job.
You did a great job, and your parents did an amazing job. You can
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
it. Yes.
Well, that's the banner we pass, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Important. Yeah. No,
Um,
definitely.
what is one, can you share with us one of the biggest challenges you faced in your journey and how you overcame it?
Mm, gee, I mean, there's life, people, it looks always so rosy, but I think challenges come on a constant way, and that um, keeping us anchored on the biggest challenge. Do you know, I think as in work, uh, I I never saw it as work. I saw it as, because I dropped the kids off
Mhm.
and I would fill up that day, and it was just to me really exciting. The challenge is, as I'd say, not scared of failure. You just found a different way or a different, it's only when people and that's overseas when they disappoint you or sell your rugs somewhere, or like you feel you've got a relationship,
Mhm.
and that has been challenging. They would have been my biggest challenge, because you give your all and trust, and
Mhm.
then when sometimes that doesn't work out, it takes you a while to retrust
Mhm.
and that.
Mhm.
But I think I was able to separate. My work life was like another hat of free, like it was just a creative side. My biggest challenge were always probably on my personal side, because when you've got 4 kids and family, the things, you know,
Good. Yes.
when you,
Yes.
yeah, and it was going to work that sort of gave me space, like.
Mhm.
So I'd say the challenges were more personal, because that's your treasures. That's where they
Mhm.
can really get you.
Mhm.
You want the best. Whereas work is fantastic, but it's on a superficial, like you're creating and that.
Mhm.
So it can't get my personality can't get to me like it can when I love someone
Mhm.
or something
Mhm.
goes wrong there. Whereas work-wise, it was more of that released me and allowed me to be creative in the times of hard
Mhm.
challenges. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
yeah,
Yeah, my challenge likewise would be the whenever I've designed for people and they take that design and either do it themselves or something
yeah.
trust wise where it's break that
That's the
trust. It's
exactly.
so it's crushing. It's soul crushing
It
because
is
I put everything into
totally.
each client too, because it's so important to me to feel them and express their lifestyle and them as a family unit into the design, and then
Totally
to have that kind of like um
copied. They haven't gone ahead and taken all your thoughts.
yeah,
That is
uh,
really, really hard,
it's
because
such
it's
a,
you. They've
yeah,
all, so that, and I think it's even so much harder for interiors like what you do. I mean, with a rug and that breaks, and you put time in and you do a design, and then you see they've given it to someone, you think. And then I put one, they think they can do it, but they can't, because so much detail is in it, the
yeah,
color. I am so fussy. So yeah, go for it.
me too.
Good luck. But it's hurting. But I think it's so much more for it when you've done all the
Mm,
detail. Mine's one piece in the room Yours is collecting everything and making a whole story. That would be devastating. And
Yes.
but all I can say is they think they'll get it,
They
but
won't.
it's got to have your heart in it, and then you don't want that name on it then because you think that is not what it's meant to be.
It's
Because
so
that's
true.
what I've seen with even interior. I think, nah, that was going to be beautiful, but now you think they haven't got your eye for
Yeah,
the
it's
detail.
true.
Yeah,
It's so true.
hurts. It
Oh,
definitely hurts for
it's
sure.
like yeah, it's like a dagger
Yeah,
too.
no, I really get. That's why I have a huge admiration for interiors because there's so much of them. And then, or they'll do part of what you're doing. I say, oh yeah, I'll do the wall and this or something, and then they do the finishing, and you think, no.
It's the worst. It's so bad. It's so bad whenever they don't do the whole design and everything is curated together. Yeah, I that's another. But you know, uh, those are just the designs that I don't publish. So, what advice would you give to your younger self? Your sound. For some reason, I can't hear you.
Well, hold on.
Oh, there. Yeah, yes.
Is it
Yes.
okay?
We're
Oh,
good. Hmm.
okay. Um, yeah. The younger self. Gee, that's a good question, Amanda, because I'm one of those people never look back, which probably should, because I do a 1 day thing back yesterday, whatever. But it's just probably in the early days,
Maybe
just
that
putting those
little girl.
boundaries up. A
Mhm.
little girl?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know, because I think I was so blessed with love around me with my parents and adventure, and I've got to say there's an element too because of the head injury. I lost a lot of my memory. So I say to mum, I know I had a great life, and my siblings go, you had a good life, Jenny. And I said, I know. And I was really loved. Yeah, oh, good. So there's bits and snippets, so things like that. But I think, like just take time, and just like in the early days with the kids, you got to really have strict boundaries for your home and your work to make sure you don't come home empty, give all that out to people. I look through all the files that I've done, and then I look at my kids, and there's a price of giving so much of yourself in an art form like yourself, like it's taking away. So you want to make sure, analyze, is this the right one? Or, yeah, I think reliving the years that I couldn't with the kids of teenagers and that being more present, I'd
That
say.
is a great piece of advice that I
Yeah.
desperately need to start living by.
Yes. Do you have children?
I don't, but
Yeah.
even just in my day to day,
Oh,
I generally work until most often like 1 a.m.
oh my gosh, Amanda.
And
Oh
I'm
my goodness.
exhausted and I have nothing more to give.
Oh, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exhausted because even with my son who's in Melbourne, he runs the show and he's married with a child. I said, fit in. It's how, like, my boundaries that we used to set up then, at a certain time it stopped.
Hmm.
And this was my time. This was my enjoyment of the other parts of my life and that. And I think that enrichment, a bit like the,
Oh, the sound for some reason.
is it
Oh,
okay? Can you hear?
yes, now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, stop. The balance is having both.
Hmm.
You enrich your life. It's good. All your hard work, you want to have rewards too of time out with different things and
Hmm.
that. That's what I've never been able to work to one. I'm hopeless. I'm one of the morning people, all sort of morning and then, but now maybe it's an age thing, but come 5:30. Thanks everybody, I'm off. Finished for the day. Yeah. Oh, and
Oh my
probably
gosh. What?
having kids too, it had to
Yeah.
make it that way too. It had to fit into those time hours. Yeah, yeah. And that.
Soon, soon. maybe in the next like couple of years, but
I'll be
we will see.
asking you,
Okay,
Amanda. I'll be
okay,
checking up on you.
okay.
And do you do
Um,
a lot of traveling?
I try to. I mean, honestly, I went for my birthday, took a 15-day vacation. We went to the Amalfi Coast and
Oh,
Lisbon,
oh,
and that was
beautiful. Fab.
lovely. And try to every now and then. I really
Yeah,
haven't since the summer outside of Dallas.
right,
I'm from Dallas, and
right.
so my family all live there, and my little brother just had his first baby
Oh,
um
sweet.
a week and a half ago, so
Oh my God.
he's just
Good.
so precious. So
Yeah.
I think I may go there this weekend or
Mm.
next to see the baby. And but in maybe St. Bart's in December.
Yep.
I
Oh,
don't
fab.
travel as much as I should, but again, I'm kind of like a prisoner
Yeah.
to duty.
Well, do you know what I did about 10 years ago? We were in France and not by choice, not even thinking, but it was raining. And we started looking at property because we'd watched that show In Design,
Gosh.
moving. And I fell in love with a house. Well, it was part of a nunnery next to a church and it was not in good condition.
Hmm.
And Dan said, no way, we don't speak French and we don't know anyone. Anyway, it took 2 years to convince him and we bought it. And I go there every year for 3 months. Well, 2 months or three, depending, that. And I've set up my office like here. I could be talking to you now. I've got my Poms, I've got my Mac, I've got my CAD. And so I work, and the girls, like literally, they might be in Perth, but I operate and design there. But it has been the most amazing experience because we've done up this house with two Polish guys and we've renovated and we're about to go back and do a barn in November. But the enrichment and, sometimes away from it, you actually can do
So much.
amazing, like, yeah. And just this experience going to the market, a different culture, a different landscape, a different, it's just amazing. And being able to have in today, this is the beauty of today. I can have an office, virtual office in another place, like as if I'm sitting in Perth and
Mhm.
operate. And the beauty there is it's 4 hours, there's 6 hours difference. So I get up to 3 hours and they've gone. They don't want to know me. And I go, yes, great. And I go off and do my walks because it's light till 10 at night and I have the summer season there. And it's,
Well,
it's the reward for hard work. You
yes.
want to give yourself these lovely little rewards and challenges. I love the challenge. I'm in a non-speaking English speaking. I've got to go and get food. I've got to renovate. Like
Wow.
I said to them, we keep interesting, and we can only do that if we put ourselves into an environment of challenge, and that's what we do. But we love it. We've got all our French friends now, and do a lot of sign language, googling.
Do you speak French?
I can't even speak English. Dyslexic. I I tried with them, and they go, no, 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 and I said, yeah, I won't insult you. I won't. I think I'd have to live there for a few years and learn phonetically the French. But funnily enough, this is where my dyslexic helped. I would go there, and Dan would learn, try and do his French, and with the Aussie accent and things like that. And I'd be watching them, and then I'd say, no, Dan, they're asking if you want to have such and such, and then they'd look at me and then they'd start talking French to me because they knew I knew what they were saying. I said, no, no, I just read your face. You're like, yeah. Da, da, da. So, we'd go to a dinner party and I'm doing this sign language. Like this. And we'd all be laughing away. Yeah, lots of fun. Lots of
Oh
fun.
my gosh, that sounds dreamy. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
to.
it is.
I would love photos
Yeah,
of your
yes. I'll
reno.
send you. It's gorgeous.
Maybe one year we can meet
Me,
up there.
absolutely. You'd love
I,
it.
I would love that.
Oh, and
So we always kind of end with some closing questions that are fun and about you and really not about um, the industry.
sure.
So, one, do you have a secret talent or hobby that most people don't know about? And what is it?
Oh, gosh. I don't think so. Bit sad, isn't it?
Okay. If you could master any skill unrelated to your career, what would it be?
Oh, I there's two things. One is I want to be a sculptor with stone
Uh-huh.
and metal. So that is my next goal up in the bush. I want to put the two mediums. So when I retire, I want to go and do a course with welding and that. So I would love that stage because I've always wanted to do that since a young kid. And the other, I would love to learn another language like French. I would love to embrace myself and say, I can do it. I can communicate, because we're having a home there and that. So those two things I have in the and a women's group. I'm starting to do women's groups. I think as an older woman, we're meant to mentor younger women, and when our children grow up, I think it's very enriching
Mm-hmm.
being and
Mm-hmm.
hearing, and it keeps us young.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I so agree. I love the those goals and skills. Like they're all good, and I will buy your sculpture.
Oh, thank you.
um,
Better get onto it.
what
Uh,
what's a book or a podcast or a quote that has made significant impact on your life?
um, I actually listen to podcasts daily
Me too.
to a man called Chip Ingram in America.
Hmm. I've never heard of.
And it's sort of because I'm not a chit. Here I'm chit chatting, but as time goes, you want depth, you want this whole thing, and he just goes from subject to subject to subject and it might be a 5-day, 25 minutes, so it's easy in a day I can listen to, and it questions me on who I am and what. And I love that. I love that sort of thing,
Mhm.
and as in quotes, I mean, it's a bit. It's really like what you say, do unto others as it's done to you, like really care about others and you would, if you wouldn't do it to yourself, you shouldn't do it to anyone else. Be kind.
Mhm.
Kindness needs to be
Oh,
so important in the
so
world.
important.
And that
It's
is, it doesn't
undervalued.
take, yeah, it doesn't take much to smile to someone and just give them respect. It might be the only time in the day.
Yes,
So I think that's really important to
I
me,
love
to
this.
remind myself, yeah,
If
not get caught up in myself.
the last question, if you could collaborate with any designer, living or past, who would it be and what would you create?
Oh gosh, these are questions I any
It could
designer.
be artist, it doesn't have to be a designer, it could be an artist, it can be a human being. Any person.
To collaborate. There has been so many people and
Influences.
things that have influenced me in different things. That's why one, I think, God, that one, no, that one, no, yeah, that are profound in my life.
I have just loved this conversation.
Oh,
I
me
really
too.
and so you have so much joy and light, and I just love it so much.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you so much for
oh,
being a guest. Thank
oh,
you for everything that you've put out in this world, all of your beautiful creations. I'm just
oh,
so grateful to you, and thank
oh,
everyone for joining today. It
yeah.
was such a really beautiful conversation.
Oh, Amanda, thank you so much. I was so touched you even asking me, and it's just been a pleasure getting to know you. You're very special, and that's one. And I love that we're working together. That's
Yes,
fantastic.
yes,
Yeah,
I
and
am so excited. You are
yeah, because
going to
you're
be able to
full of joy.
see her beautiful rug in our one of our projects soon.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just so excited about it. And can you tell everyone where they can find you and follow along on your journey
Yes.
with Jones Rugs?
Yep. JennyJonesRugs.com. That's our website, but that would be wonderful. And it's so I'll start putting my journey up. This is where I'm so poor at things, telling the stories. Like I'll get the white. Well, your great idea with Government House. I need to talk to you more, Amanda. You're the ideas girl with a lot
Let's
of
do
joy
it.
and happiness.
I would
Yeah,
love nothing more.
yeah.
Seriously.
Oh,
I love collaboration. It
yes.
brings me so much joy.
Oh, you can
Um,
see that you're fantastic and just even encouraging me. Thank you. I really
ab-
appreciate it.
absolutely. Again, thank you to everyone that joined. We'll include
Yes,
all of this information, all of your information in the show notes, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
I will. And you too.
Thank
Or
you.
you have a good evening. Hope you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Samantha.
Okay,
Take
bye-bye.
care. Bye.